So there it is.
No, there was some contractual
I'll just click go live.
paperwork, Corey.
Oh, yeah?
They're working it out.
They're working out the paperwork, right?
Okay, this says it's good.
An error occurred. Please try again later.
Yeah, look. Do you
An
see
error. It's not working.
We'll just do it through there.
that? Yeah, but how do we know it's working?
I mean, you could, if you want to record like we did the last one, and just air it later or something.
Oh no.
You got
Says
it?
it's good. Yeah, it's up.
Oh,
It's
Live
done.
right now?
Yeah,
cool. There's like
Alright, so-
40,000 people already.
Get the setup.
at least.
Tommy Lee.
Yeah. Yeah, Tommy Lee
Tommy
canceled.
Lee
so
was
we got
coming.
Richie the C. Tommy Lee can't. All right. It's kind of like Tommy Lee. All right.
Tommy,
Richie,
man.
you want to jump in there?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, there he is.
Who the fuck left this guy?
How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on?
I'm Gary. I'm Gary. Yeah, I met you before.
Gary, Robbie.
Yeah, this is Richie.
Richie, Robbie.
Robbie, nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
How you guys doing? Nice to meet
How you doing?
Yeah.
Who's this guy? Oh, there he is.
Hey,
All right,
how
Mike.
you
Might be
doing?
the other way.
All right.
Let me just check. Yeah, left.
Okay.
How's it going?
Yeah, see you. Yeah, Robbie, so I thought you for sure that Toronto game 6, man.
why didn't you
I
tell
thought you
me,
for
bro?
sure did that. I thought you for
Aaron Gaming.
All in.
What the hell's the matter
Say
with
What's
you?
up?
something.
16 to fucking 4.
Can you guys hear it okay? You guys good?
Yeah, I'm just reading that chat over there. Welcome to live chat. Are we live?
Yes, you are.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Hey,
You realized you redeemed
it's
me.
live.
All right, you gotta.
Live.
Robbie, you redeemed me.
Yeah, just a little bit
You
over.
redeemed me,
All right.
Robbie,
There,
remember?
man, right there. All right.
Robbie,
No, you're
remember?
good. Actually,
Oh, okay,
you're good
all
where
right.
you were. Yeah.
Robbie, remember you redeemed me?
You give me your neck. Fucker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're just waiting for Corey, our host, who's
Robbie, you remember?
had to see some people outside and sign a few autographs, but he's almost ready here.
Right.
Like 300.
We're happy to be
I
here
literally had
tonight
like 300. You remember that night?
for our live podcast
No, I jokingly
with
put like 300.
one of Southern California's premier comedians,
Anyone gonna pass the hookah?
Richie the C.
Check the.
Richie the C. And here's Corey, who's made his way to the stage.
Hold on, let me check the.
Cheers.
Check
Cheers.
The, Aaron, fix the camera a little. So.
Can you move over a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then it might
yeah,
be
thanks.
better if you're straight, like instead of sideways. See?
All right, we ready to do this?
Yeah, man.
There's no way you can come in a little bit more, can you? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
perfect.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hookah and Friends podcast. I'm your host, Deadshot, joined by our guest, Richie the C. How you doing, sir?
Oh, wonderful, splendid. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks.
you.
Along with Gary, we had him in our interview last time from Flatline, former 80s rock star, living the dream. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, Richie, you are a comedian, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about what got you into comedy as you were growing up.
That was one of the I think there was just one thing. I always liked making people laugh. My grandmother and my mother were pretty well, mainly my grandmother. She was pretty miserable. I think I just always wanted to make her laugh, but I always thought I always held these people who could make people laugh in great esteem. Mm-hmm. And it always seemed like one of those things that you wouldn't. Not a lot of. It's always a welcome skill. You don't need a lot of moving parts. I mean, you don't need a lot of equipment. I always liked making people laugh. Maybe a seltzer bottle or meringue pie or some Acme explosives, but other than that,
Yeah, it's a pretty basic thing. You know,
Right.
if you got the content in your head to make people laugh, it's always good. So, are you from LA or where are you from?
I grew up in LA. I was born in Phoenix.
Born in Phoenix. Okay. When did you move out here?
I was a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a year and a half old, and I just realized that scene wasn't happening. So,
At
so
1.5, you were like, Phoenix, nope, not
Yeah,
gonna work. Not
right.
gonna work for me. So
So
then
you thumbed it out to LA and
that's right. Well, I said, Mom, we're going to.
we're going out to LA. And then you settled down in the San Fernando Valley, or
No, first we lived in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay.
So it was
Santa
about
Monica.
12. Then we moved to North Hollywood.
So then getting into comedy, were there comedians you looked up to growing up that you wanted to kind of be like in your comedy routine?
Yeah, Don Rickles. But I mean, I don't think my act isn't anything like his.
Oh, I love Don. Rest in
But
peace.
yeah, he was.
Rest in peace, Don.
It's,
We love you.
and I.
Go.
Well, it's interesting. You break down Don Rickles. There isn't a lot. Love listening to him. Wasn't always a lot of material. A lot of it is just delivery and attitude.
Yeah, just a lot of shit talking. And,
Yeah.
you know, just the way he would talk to people. I mean, like the roasting and just he
Right.
was just savage. I mean, just absolutely savage in his
Right.
comedy towards people.
He was savage, but he never had to curse. Never dropped any F-bombs or S-bombs.
It
I
was
think.
just natural, just comedy.
Yeah.
You know.
wasn't always a lot of material. A lot of it is just delivery.
And then, so how old are you when you had your first gig, or did your first gig?
I don't even count it. I think I was 23 or 24, but I just stopped for a long time because I just I didn't feel like I had much of a life. I wanted to. I admire these comedians who can do this stuff at a really young age because it's a craft. You should, you're always learning. But sometimes I think to myself, what are you talking about when you're that young? Unless you've had some incredible life or some incredible insights.
Do you mean like at 23 or younger,
Yeah, at
younger
20
comedians?
Both. I mean, 20. Yeah. I mean, I know Eddie Murphy was on Saturday Night Live at 19.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
there's just more. Actually, I was. Well, who am I to pass judgment on anyone? I never thought. So a lot of people think he was that funny. I never. Some of this stuff was funny. I never thought he was that funny.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with comedians. There's just people have different tastes of comedy,
Right.
For different comedians. You know, there's a bunch out there. There's some comedians, one being Pablo Francisco. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No.
He's a Hispanic comedian. I mean, I think he's absolutely hilarious, and I've showed his stuff to some of my friends. They don't really laugh at it. They show me stuff. I don't really laugh at it. So
Right.
it's all just about the humor of the person that's
the
listening.
taste, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The taste of
subjective,
the-
subjective, yeah.
What? Yeah. What
Like,
resonate?
like all art,
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
Or sometimes I'd see Artie Lang, and I loved Artie Lang on the Howard Stern show. But when he was just interacting, his act itself, I didn't think was that funny. Except I saw him live once. He would just hammer certain premises,
Yeah.
like the like that Will and Grace weren't gay enough, and then she really needed to gay it up until somebody, was. Not sure if these are exact words. He was until someone was ass fucking someone with a bloody baseball bat until he was I mean, he was just hitting the same premise. It was just the force of it, and finally he started laughing. So there's a lot of, but that was a lot of Don Rickles too. A lot of it. Some of the stuff is genuinely funny, but sometimes he'll say, "Yeah, my mom would back me up to the radiator in my room and say, why?"
Yeah.
And people would laugh.
Yeah. There's just comedy. I mean, I think the comedy I like is stuff that relates to the real world. How people, I mean, like a Jerry Seinfeld act. I mean, that's sort of the comedy that I like. I also love dark humor stuff like, Anthony Jeselnik or just, Tosh, Daniel Tosh. I think he's pretty funny. Just some of this, just like some of the real world, like savage stuff that, like people, I think that's hilarious.
That's a weird thing too, because sometimes it's real. Well, I know what you mean. It's dark. It's based on things that could happen. It's not really real because I don't think Anthony Jeselnik goes out and beats, finds out who's the abusive boyfriend and then goes up and then beats up the girlfriend.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I know because I do a lot of dark stuff like that. The hard part is making people understand that you're joking.
Yeah, that's a very hard part, and those guys are serious too. I mean, you see the look on Jesselnick's face. This guy has no emotion throughout the whole show. So yeah, talk about your comedy then, since we're kind of getting into that.
Well, see, mine is kind of dark too, and what's funny is because the
Really
last
dark.
yes, so the last time I really had a road gig. I mean, I've done stuff in Las Vegas since then, but I was in Montana. It was something called a Tribble Run, which are kind of famous, and then I'd done a few road things like that, and it was first time being in Montana or Idaho. And I guess my stuff wasn't hitting, and except the night before.
Montana or Idaho, yeah.
Both of them, yeah. It was hitting the night before, but these are just a bunch of drunk kids waiting to get laid. But I wasn't turning anyone off. They were buying me shots and everything.
You
But
mean
this
the crowd or the other comedians?
no, the crowd.
Oh, okay.
And I'd done a few road things like that. But the booker, Dave Tribble, called me and said, "Well, I heard you're not doing well. These other places. Well, what about last night? Oh, I didn't hear back from them. You know, so went back and forth and said, this is a 7 o'clock show. This is supposed to be a 7 o'clock show. And when does Dave Tribble call me? At 7 o'clock. And so then he said, and so I'm concerned. I call him back and he goes, well, look, just do your best 20 minutes and get off the stage. And so
This was in Montana?
yeah, this was in Billings.
This was in where a place you said they didn't receive you well? the
Right,
night
and so
before
actually
or
maybe
whatever?
there were a couple of people, but I think what happened because I thought I had nothing in common with these people because I'm half German and half Jewish. I thought, well, maybe they can't relate to me. But anyway, so I went out there and I went straight into creep mode. We're not supposed to start any confrontations. So someone, like I said, I did a lot of creep jokes, and then the headliner was out in the lobby. He said nobody left. Everybody was there. I had to explain that to Dave Tribble. I said nobody walked out. I said, well, really? He goes, well, the headliner was there. He was in the lobby. Headliner was there. He said nobody walked out. We must not have been paying attention. He goes, he was in the lobby. Nobody walked out. But the point is, I did my creep stuff. Nobody left, but the headliner came and crushed it. Sold DVDs, T-shirts, everything. Found out later, people wanted refunds for my half of the show.
Oh, God.
So you see, I was wrong. There are Jews in Montana. Kaboom.
Clearly.
Shout out real quick to my favorite strip club, Billings, Montana, Shotgun Willys.
Really?
Shotgun
Shotgun
Willie.
Willie.
Yeah, somebody said don't. Because the first time we were in Missoula, he said don't feel bad. I think it's the most sexual assaults among people who know it, or something like that. There's somewhere in some statistics, some real lurid statistic
What,
like
in
that.
in Billings?
Somewhere in Montana,
Oh.
the whole state ranks high for some sort of sexual assault statistic. And so I said, don't feel bad. So I don't know, maybe some of that stuff was just close to home. I mean, because like talking about Anthony, I haven't heard that much of it. But I feel like people should know that I'm joking.
You're doing comedy.
Right. I mean,
You're doing a fucking act on stage.
well, the thing.
People.
Well, the thing is too. What does it tell you that Jared Fogle and Bill Cosby never told jokes like that?
Exactly.
They never. Neither did Trump and Bill Clinton's buddy Epstein, the guy who's.
Yeah, comedy it can be taken a lot of different ways from people. It's just all
Right.
about the reaction and, like you're saying, realizing people, that you're joking.
Right.
I'm a big fan of his creepy stuff. The
Yes,
first time I met him actually was right down the street at Ireland's. At Ireland's, yeah. And I was
Ireland's?
I
Where's
just
that?
moved in Woodman and
You guys met recently? Or
Burbank.
you guys are long
No,
time?
like
this
10
is,
years ago.
This is
Yeah.
13 years now.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
Was it Wait a minute, because I
13
think.
years. 12 years.
Yeah.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah, it was
years ago.
2007.
But I walked in and then I go, ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of North Hollywood, Richie the C.
Is that what they-
And he came out there and he did the full on creep set.
yeah.
And I was just sitting there at the end of the bar cracking up. And after the set, I said, hey, man, I really like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. And that's 12 years ago.
So what's the whole creep act?
Well, I think.
Mayor
wait,
of North Hollywood?
no, I don't. Chris Ramirez. I think that's at Michael's. Chris Ramirez used to call me the mayor of North Hollywood.
There was other nicknames too.
So I think that might have been because it was Nick who was hosting at Ireland's because it.
Yeah,
but
Nick.
But there was
played Pink Floyd off of Animals. He played an acoustic guitar. What song was that?
I don't know.
Yeah, man, this guy Nick.
Right, but
He loved Floyd.
And I think he was
like
also
the comedy host there.
he was also from Chicago, but he took over for Shane Kelly, who was from Chicago. Shane Kelly was also from Chicago. He was a White Sox fan.
Yeah, that's too bad.
So I'm just letting you know.
Outside of Chicago.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Nasty place.
He took over. No, but that guy
still love you.
Nick kept it going, but Shane Kelly, guy who's in Texas now, but he with his family, he was from Chicago and he used to do Sinatra songs and everything. And he used to do a newsletter. He put so much energy into that, and then you had a lot of comics who were, if not headlining, at least touring comics, who were there a lot, and so it was. It was a great energy every Monday night, and then you had a lot of patrons who'd be there, expecting to hear the comedy.
And this is where?
This is Sherman Oaks, or they call it Valley Glen, near the corner of Burbank and
This is
Woodman.
at Ireland you're talking about.
Yeah, Ireland's
Okay,
32,
you're saying-
right.
Yeah, okay. So that was when you guys met.
And for the record, stiff drinks.
Stiff drinks from
Stiff
those
drinks.
bars.
Yeah, and someone I know-
They're not counting their pours.
Yeah,
over at Ireland.
Right.
And someone
Yeah.
and someone I know, someone I know says that they pour the best Guinness.
Well,
In
you know,
LA or
at
the
an-
Val-
at
Pardon?
an Irish bar,
Yeah.
right?
They better.
Well, it doesn't mean, but a lot of people don't know anything. You buy this thing that drives me nuts about people don't know how to pour Hefeweizen. They don't know. If you go to a place like Wisconsin, they'll know how to.
In
They
Wisconsin.
give you the right glass.
North of Chicago.
That's
They'll-
right.
they'll know.
100 miles to Milwaukee from Chicago,
They'll
right?
know in Wisconsin.
Right.
How to
And so,
pour.
because I
Over
bought
here in
my.
LA, no one knows how to do shit.
Well, I don't. I lived in Germany for a while, so that when you pour the Hefeweizen, you got to pour. You have a special glass. You have to pour it slowly so it doesn't foam up, and then whatever's left in the bottle, you roll. So it's not just until the foam settles and you get some more beer out of it.
I would love to go to Germany. I mean, that's like the land of the beer, right? I mean,
Yeah, a lot of people now are.
they just drink beer in Germany, right?
Well, they drink wine too, and they drink
like
Jaeger.
liquor?
Pardon?
Like liquor, though, in Germany, like tequila or like.
Yeah, they
I mean,
would
I'm
do.
sure they do, but I feel like the Germans just love a good old like beer.
Right, but in the
Huge
in the
beer.
Rhine Valley where my mother was from, they grow a lot of wine. They grow a lot of grapes. They make a lot of wine.
Yeah.
So there is a wine culture. It is known, and then some of the best. And then where did they make? There's a famous brandy, Asbach Uralt. So Rhine. So that's
So you sprechen Sie Deutsch?
yeah. My first language is German.
Really?
Eine
That's
erste Sprache ist Deutsch.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's interesting. So,
Yes.
So how long did you live in Germany for?
Well, when I was a kid, we used to visit all the time, and then, which is funny because my mother was really sick of Germany, but my grandmother kept making her go back, and just to take care of family business and stuff and work things out. And I think there was some bureaucrat somewhere who was some desk jockey who was on a power trip and scared my grandmother and made her think she had to come back every year.
Back
And
to
so-
Germany?
Yeah, and there was, and the thing is, at first, my mom told me when I first went there, I hated it, but I began to like it. I liked it so much, I liked it more than a year. So, especially maybe because I just used to get a lot of grief for speaking German, for being German. So I think that I was also, but there are a lot of things about Germany that I liked.
Yeah. What part of Germany did you live in?
My mom was from. Well, I lived in Mainz. I lived in Berlin.
Mainz.
And I lived in Mainz is not that far from Frankfurt. That's also where Gutenberg invented the printing press. Well, the printing press was invented in Asia, but they didn't have movable type. So for you music fans, so that means that every weekend they had to see Cheap Trick because they couldn't change the posters.
Yeah.
Gutenberg was the one who moved the little squares around so they could, kaboom. They could they moved the little type around so you could have different things, and so Gutenberg was the one who printed the first. Well, I think the Gutenberg Bible is the first printed book.
Wow, yeah.
How did
Yeah.
that become your trademark, by the way?
Kaboom. Oh, because I was in Michael's Pub,
Okay.
which is it's still around, but they
Lancashire and Oxnard.
right.
So
And-
kaboom is this when the punchline hits?
It's
or-
post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Post
Post-
delivery.
Yeah,
okay.
because I was around the same time I was at Michael's Pub, and that was a. You see, in contrast to Ireland's, that's a place where people would do comedy. People would expect it, but they didn't really enjoy it like they did at Ireland's. But I did a joke one night, and it just sort of bombed. Well, it did bomb, and I just went kaboom, and there was a laugh.
Well, yeah, you gotta save it somehow, right?
Right.
Try your best to save it.
Right, or I'm calling it for what it is. Yeah, and so it's in. That's a place where people would do. I always feel strange calling stand-up an art, but what's interesting to me anyway is the kaboom. There's so many interpretations of what the kaboom is supposed to be. Are you saying you're supposed to laugh, or are you saying this joke is bad, or
Yeah.
it's
Or it's good.
right?
or
It's
you
just
killed it.
like it's like that kind of art where everyone has a different interpretation of what it is. So
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've heard Germany's beautiful. Definitely would love to go one day for sure.
yeah, it's nice. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you're German Jew. Right?
Yeah, my father was Jewish. He was from New York. He was I think his heritage was Austro-Hungarian. Yeah, my mother was Catholic from Germany. But yeah, you put them together, you get yes.
Yeah, that's very interesting for
Yeah.
comedy. Definitely a lot of routine that can be made out of that, right?
Yeah, I feel like I got a get out of jail free card. Kaboom. No, I guess like I've been inoculated because you used to
Yeah.
get so much. Yeah, it's always good when you people. Wait, I'm Jewish because it's a little bit irritating when people tell you you're not Jewish. I said you can't do that. I said you can't be. Well, you can say I'm not Jewish, but you can't. But I'm not Jewish either.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, the heritage has to come through the mom, but it's a little kind of. I understand. Back in what's known as the day, they didn't have DNA testing. They didn't have Maury Povich. You couldn't really tell.
Yeah,
You know, if a guy
right.
spooched in somebody's, unless
You are the father.
right, they couldn't do any of that. I mean, maybe somebody looked just like the milkman or whatever, but there was no definitive testing. But the thing is, so they just go, oh no, the religion is only inherited through the mother. It's not really fair. You can't just. I understand. Because I'm like a Reese's peanut butter cup. Because my dad got Jew all over my mom. My mom had an Aryan passport.
Wow.
She was certified. I said, you got Jew on the Aryan. Because you got Aryan on my Jew.
Oh man.
They should have called me Reese. Kaboom. Let me great tell my girlfriend I got some Reese's Pieces for you. I am
Oh man.
kaboom.
So talk about, I mean, going up on stage. You've probably done it so many times already, right?
Right.
So I mean, it's usually a 20-minute set. Is that like the standard?
No, a lot of places it's 5 minutes or 4 minutes. Some
Oh,
people
wow,
get you
really?
8 minutes, yeah, or 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I mean, you have to have everything ready to deliver in your head. Is that part of your prep, or it just?
Kind of. Well, the thing is, I need to do that more, and so lately I've been reviewing, or I try to get some things down. And fortunately, now I've got enough stuff in my repertoire, but you still have to work to remember it. And so, a couple of years ago, my roommates would notice because they'd see stuff that I recorded where I just have a lot of pauses, or I'd forget what I was saying, because sometimes I would just be too impatient or too fidgety to actually prepare anything. Now I'm actually having to go over stuff, review my material enough so that I have it ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so you also just have to remember to have it.
Written on your hands.
Yes, I used to do that a lot too.
Yeah.
I mean, I figure as pale as I am, that was my white privilege that I could actually
So you could
kaboom.
write your jokes on
Yeah.
your kid.
I mean, the thing is, you watch the NBA Finals. I said, I hope you see these. You see some of these players with these tattoos. I said, I hope they got a discount because I can hardly see that ink.
Yeah, I know, right? Some of the stuff they get too is just terrible.
Right.
Did you see Lonzo Balls?
No, what is this?
Millions of dollars.
Born to Ball.
Oh, really?
Born
New
to
one.
ball.
Yeah.
Oh, real?
Funny.
The too much time on their hands.
They just have just bad work too. I mean, these guys are millionaires. Lonzo didn't have any tattoos before he joined the NBA. He made millions, and in my opinion, like the sleeve that he got, it's poorly done. Like,
Oh, really?
dude? Like, you have millions of dollars. Go to the best in the world, best black and gray artists you can find.
No, most of them seem, but it just seems like.
Yeah, Derrick Rose, Pudini.
But on black skin, yeah, it's definitely a weird thing.
Yeah,
you know, you got to like take the person up
Right.
close.
I mean,
what is that?
But I think isn't in there. It's,
I think it's just a good artist. I mean, like Iguodala's look awesome.
oh, do they?
McKinney's look awesome on the Warriors, but like Derrick Rose, he's D Rose, and he's got this Pudini. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but look it up, everybody. It's like I don't know what happened with that. The artwork's like I don't know. Maybe it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then there was. The thing is,
Sorry, D Rose.
one comic was talking about it last time, but it's always I feel bad for the Asian players because they have to look at all these Asian tattoos. To me, it must be like Sesame Street for them. It must be distracted. It must be like Kaboom. It must be like if we were playing basketball against the count or something. One.
So I mean, going into your early comedy, I mean, do you know how many shows you've done? Like,
No.
possibly, but enough.
Oh,
to
that'd
where you
be
don't
interesting.
No.
remember. You
What's-
traveled to do comedy.
I wish I traveled more. I mean, now I can say I've been on the road, but I get.
Like a tour, a comedy tour.
Yeah, I've only. See, I've been summoned to Las Vegas. I mean, only just bar shows. I had a show at the Rio once. Oh, like we were talking. I didn't prepare, and I was. At a point like that, you actually have to ignore or not care sometimes what the crowd thinks, or sometimes even what you think, because, well, no one at the Rio would have known my act. But sometimes you think about other people who know your act. Oh, they've heard this before.
Yeah.
But, you know, they never say that about the Rolling Stones. Oh, are they going to play Satisfaction again? Oh, my God. But sometimes if you don't have something new prepared, you just need to do the old.
Yeah. I mean,
You need to
that's
older,
true.
and I didn't do that. And so sometimes I get frustrated because I've been at it for a while. People tell me I'm getting better. People have offered to buy my jokes and things like that. I need to get more dates at real clubs.
Yeah. So people actually can buy material from comedians.
Well, sure, if somebody says, I'm going to give you this joke, or yeah, I'll buy it. Somebody wanted to buy one of my... You want to know what joke someone wanted to buy?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a political joke, and this was... Because the joke developed over time because it happened when Reagan died. And at the same time Reagan died, they also just opened California Adventure. Mm-hmm. You remember there was nothing... And they were taking Reagan's casket everywhere, all over the country. And I said his casket's getting more visitors than California Adventure. And kaboom. But the other thing was, so I said he must be pretty cool. And I thought to myself, because even when Obama was elected, he would even talk about, because he'd have to reach out to the right, or he felt like he had to. Complimenting Reagan, and I thought, well, Reagan, like I said, because Reagan was smarter. Because before we had these last two Republican presidents, people thought Reagan was kind of dopey, but Reagan was a lot smarter than people gave him credit for. Because when Reagan was president, we weren't in Afghanistan, the Russians were, and we were in Iraq, the Iranians were. Mm-hmm. And we hated the Iranians, so what did we do? We sold them weapons. And what did we do with the money? We sent it to Nicaragua because we cared about freedom. Those Contras were the freedom fighters. And what did they do with the money? They bought cocaine, and they brought it to L.A. And the Bloods and the Crips fought over it, and NWA wrote songs about it, and a new phenomenon was born. So let's give it up for Reagan, the father of gangster rap.
Pretty much, right? Wow, quite the journey of, of what happened there. So, so as far as comedy tours, I mean, what cities have you been to?
Milwaukee, Chicago, New York, New York.
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, Phoenix, Missoula, Idaho Falls, Billings.
So, what's it like in those cities? And I mean, I've never been to any of those states, Montana or Idaho or said North Dakota also.
No, I haven't done that one yet.
Oh, okay.
I haven't. In Oregon. Well, it depends because sometimes you have. You know, sometimes you feel like you're just filling up somebody's budget or something because you're at a casino, an Indian casino, and people are just there because there's nothing else to do, and you can't get any energy out of them. And then sometimes you're at a place like in Winnemucca, Nevada, and then people are actually receptive to what you're doing, even the creep stuff. I mean, that's a great thing about Las Vegas, and I think these something about Nevada, people. I guess that's
are more receptive there.
Yeah, because I think there's something about the depravity. People accept it. People don't have to go out of their way to look.
Yeah, we can be creepy here.
Yeah, they can. They can just be creepy without dressing up or playing a role. No, this is just part of the.
Nobody cares.
Right. All the prostitution, the gambling, all the
Yeah.
all the
You can be weird as fuck in Nevada,
yeah,
that's for
all
sure.
the hidden all the disguised genitalia. No, this is just we just take this in.
Strange comedy in Nevada.
So so that they're much more understanding, much more accepting of it. Yeah, okay. I never had to well, not very much anyway. I never really had to explain it. No, I'm just joking. But,
just keep the laughs going.
Right. I think you always have people who don't miss. I think what you just need to have in any crowd, you need to have enough allies. Mm-hmm. You know, someone comes because I know in Virginia once I got the vibe there were different groups of people. It's like there'd be at a table, and you could tell maybe one person at each table or a couple of people were laughing. Mm-hmm. And so, but he has his trusted friends, the people who trust him, they see him laughing. Oh, I guess it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess we don't have.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, we don't. Oh, okay, we don't have to be.
Yeah, like they say they have what's it called? Someone in the crowd that they say are planted there to just laugh. Right?
Oh yeah.
Is that a real thing or?
No, I don't have no, I think I just got. Yeah, well, no one's gonna do that.
Not for you and your.
No,
case,
not
but,
for me.
Yeah.
What about planted hecklers?
Yeah.
I don't.
How real is that? Is that prevalent?
Boo!
I don't.
You suck.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Terrible.
No, I think some people take it upon them. Well, sometimes there are different kinds of heckler because some people just want to be part of it. Some people just want to converse, and then other times people they really get offended or they're difficult. And I actually need to learn to be ruder to some people. Well, so more disrespectful, but you don't want to. Because I've seen it too where you had to step in because somebody, a woman initiates something and this guy just comes back at her and then the boyfriend gets upset, because, and you've got to sometimes get between some other people. I said, I don't want to put some guy in a position where he feels like he has to defend, somebody's honor. But I should have, it's funny because I tried to do my act. I should have just gone with the crowd because the crowd was just saying, fuck the heckler. And I should have just used that. Yeah. I mean, it's not the most original writing. Yeah, it's not the most original writing, but it seemed to be effective at that time. I should have just stuck with fuck the heckler because everyone was on my.
So that actually happened.
Yeah, especially if you're recording.
Yeah.
So there was a heckler trying to ruin your set, or he was just talking shit.
Or she was, yeah, and I could have. But it's funny. Yeah, it was a chick. Nobody. Yeah, nobody liked it. I should have. Once everyone was going fuck the heckler, I should have just done that too.
Yeah, nobody likes you anyway.
Right.
Nobody likes you either, ma'am. You can fucking leave if you're not happy with the show.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember one time we did a show in a band I was playing. This is early on when I first met Richie, and we didn't have an opening act. And I'm like, "Hey man, I got this guy, Richie the C. He'll open the show." And it was a rock show. It was at that place. What was the
Center for something Arts.
California Institute for Abnormal Arts? That's what it was. Right over there by
That's still
Lancashire and Lancashire and
Lancashire and Burbank.
Burbank, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so I still have the set on video, and when you said that, it reminded me of you going up there, and all these metal people, like, you know, it was like goth, it was like Manson kind of band, you know, and they're like, "Hey, we want a band," and he's like, and he's doing comedy, and they're like, "What is this? Get off!" And
What was it?
And Richie's like, "Well, when you have a show here, then you can do whatever you want. But for now, I'm gonna do my set."
Yeah, it wasn't that bad. There was one girl, she kept saying, "Oh, kill Chantel." Goes, "No, we'll kill Chantel." Yep,
That was the band, yeah.
Well, yeah. But actually, and she was wearing this really loose T-shirt. Like, it's one of those things where you're teased enough that you just want to.
She goes, "I'm dying to see him," and you go, "I'm dying for this set to be over."
Or there's something. But also, I wish she'd moved a little bit more, because these. You know, when you get so tempted by someone, they're turning you into a creep. I wouldn't have tried to look if you hadn't shown so much of your breasts that I wanted to see the nipple too. Kaboom. You know, it's just art. You know, your mind needs closure. It's not really fair. I don't.
So you still are doing comedy, right?
Yes.
Right,
Yeah, I haven't given up yet.
Yeah. Okay. So talk about a point in your comedy career where you were like at the highest, you would say, or you know, you felt like, you know, this is really gaining momentum, or bigger shows, bigger audiences.
No, I'm talking about when I was going to Las Vegas, there was never anything bigger, so I even feel a little bit pretentious talking about.
Because getting paid to perform.
Right. I mean, yeah, that, because that hasn't happened in a while. I can't.
Yeah.
You know, I have to. I imagine you're a sports fan.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've got to keep looking at people like Kurt Warner. Or even Justin Turner. All these people, you know, who thought their careers were over and had to turn everything. Turn it around. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So that's where I'm. Unfortunately, you know, you don't have to. If you're a comedian, you don't have to worry about your knees going out. I mean, me maybe my shoulder and my elbow.
Yeah,
but that kaboom.
Kabooms.
But
you know,
I want to miss that kaboom.
But you just feel like
yeah, you have no gear too, like you were saying.
Right, it was just where they were.
You could do those sets without carrying anything to the bar.
Right.
I brought my microphone.
Right. So actually, I had to use because I'm getting over. I had to bring my microphone.
I only use this mic.
Yeah. But it's. I mean, maybe my shoulder and my elbow. But
the Comedy 9300.
It's a little. I don't. But well, you've seen enough sport, you know, where this new athlete comes in and you had to hear, oh, he had to go from this place to this place. Baker Mayfield didn't get a scholarship at Texas Tech, so he had to walk on at Oklahoma, and they didn't want to give him a scholarship. He had to walk on it first, and then they gave like this. Or Kurt Warner couldn't get, you know, Arena League, NFL Europe, on the bench at Green Bay or a bunch
Super Bowl champion.
MJ cut from high school.
That's right. And so I have to look at it like that. So I have to feel like I'm still in the Arena League or NFL Europe.
Yeah.
I'm because I've worked with a lot. No, I've worked with a lot of people who actually do tour, or they've been on television, or they've done. Actually, I've been on television too.
Wow.
Now that I think it.
Yeah.
But once, well, it's funny because well, maybe it's not that funny, but I had the last reality. I was in a show called Loredana Esquire, and this was about this woman who was she was from the East Coast, but she was an LA cop. Then she went to law school, and I was very attractive, and she took on different people's cases. And so mine was, I was trying to figure out how to protect my trademark, because I trademarked Kaboom. And so like a lot of reality shows, a lot of it was staged, loosely based on reality. And so it got it out there. But the funny, but her name was Loredana Neshi, and a few years ago she got murdered.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Kaboom! And it was only a few years after my mom got. Well, my mom died. And then the tax person we had died. Then my and then a few years later, my shrink died. Yeah. Then my TV attorney. Well, and in between there, my TV attorney got murdered. Then I had this huge bill from my tax accountant, and all I could think was, do I pay him now, or do I just wait for him to die? Kaboom. But that was, and the thing is, I was on, because I'm a clutterer. So some people think that I was on a show called Obsessed on A&E about people with OCD, and some people think
hoarders or something.
Yeah, except it was all kinds of OCD. But some people think that my show inspired hoarders. I have to think it was a coincidence. But I mean, it's always nice to know that you're an inspiration.
It was a show that you were on.
Yeah, it was called Obsessed.
It was called Obsessed.
Yeah, shortly after it became that, I completely think it was inspired by Richie the C.
So what was Obsessed about?
It was about different people with OCD, and so I actually had the whole hour. I hoarded a whole hour to myself. But because I have a cluttering problem, I still do. Well, I don't know if you call it a problem, because every time I bring in somebody to my house, my roommates end up needing it. So I don't know. I'm not sure it's a problem. It's not. Everything gets used.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not a hoarder. I'm resourceful.
That's right. Well, yeah. That's just. Yeah. Isn't that just? That's just.
It's time to let this go.
That's just.
Richie. No.
Yeah. That's
Someone
just.
will need this.
Don't throw that out.
Goddamn right.
Don't
The junk industry, the collector industry. You're right. It's as soon as it leaves my house,
it'll be worth.
Yeah, it'll be worth something. Oh, when in my house it's junk. I see what they're doing. They're trying to sell me new stuff.
Yeah.
We ever seen these makeover shows or sometimes Oprah will do the special makeover show and the house looks worse than what it did before. We know where they just had plain walls, but no, they had to paint this a certain way. They had to bring in this expensive furniture.
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't complain because I live in North Hollywood. I live in North Hollywood, the part of North Hollywood that they try to call Valley Village. But I mean, people they throw away the best furniture. I mean, I've put the best furniture off the street into my house.
Wow. Yeah, you can definitely find some gold mines.
Yeah, it's of course it's hard when some neighbors start throwing away bad stuff. I go, no, this isn't gonna fly. I'm not picking up this with this scratched vinyl on. No, this is. You wanted to live in Valley Village. We're not. This is not what.
That's Consumer Reports from 1987.
I know we're not.
Don't touch that.
We're not. We can't. We can't get a bad. We can't get a bad Yelp review, even if it is in Spanish, from all the other people who are going to pick up furniture.
Yeah.
So, kaboom. But every time most of the time I bring something in, my roommates are wearing my old clothes. And they bring in the food. All the stuff that I bring in, they end up using.
Well, yeah, I mean that's good. So
yeah,
fuck it. I mean, I think if it just gets to a point where there's stacks and stacks of shit where you can't get to your room or because on that show I've seen some terrible things. On hoarders. Like what the fuck? Like how?
Actually, yeah,
they can't even live in their own house because they won't get rid of shit. It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, actually, there are lots of piles of stuff, but then sometimes these things it's not all garbage. I mean, they're Persian rugs. They're
Consumer Reports from 1987.
Yeah.
Well,
don't touch that.
Well, my mom had a lot of. I had to
That's
get
Red Book magazine.
No, she had a bunch of New England She had a lot of New England Journal of Medicine because my mother was a pathologist. So a lot of Joes. I said, I'm probably not going to read all of these. So I got rid of.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's a lot of things that could be worth something that people have. You look at those shows like American Pickers or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're just picking through other people's garbage.
Yeah, just come on in and oh shit, this is actually worth $500. Look at that. You know
how many offers I get for the Volkswagen in my driveway?
Yeah.
I have a '57 Volkswagen with an oval window.
Oh wow.
That was the last year the oval window.
Oh really? Mm-hmm. Have you got it appraised or anything?
No, because it was stolen once. Well, it's because not everything on it is original, and I'm not interested in selling it. But
yeah, it's a classic. Leave it in the driveway.
Well, if I hadn't been the thing is, I left a receipt in that car. because when it was stolen, it wound up in Studio City in the hills, and somebody looked in the car and they found the receipt, and they called our number, and my mom picked up. They said, "Oh, we found your car." She goes, "Did you steal it?" I go, "No, we just found this receipt." So we got the car back, but otherwise it was someone stole and took a bunch of parts off of it.
Wow.
But
You know, I was thinking about that, what you said about Arena League, but I still feel like really strongly that it just takes one night, one good set, one right person to see you.
Exactly.
And
Right.
what was that comic that we liked that went out with Rob Schneider, and he ended up
oh,
taking
Earl
him out?
Skakel.
Yeah, so Rob Schneider ended up taking him out as his opening act, like for how long? That was a while, wasn't it?
Right now he's on the wall at the comedy store. Because that happened to me.
Good gig.
Well, one time I was driving without my glasses. I had to because I can't always find my glasses, and that was before I had my roommates. My roommates can find I can find jobs. I can't find my keys. I can't find my glasses. Can always find my wallet. My roommates can find all those things. The one thing they can't find is a job. But they're getting more work now.
Yeah.
But the work is sort of finding them. So that means I can still have the I mean, it's good work. They're good at what they do.
So they're not in comedy also, or they are?
No.
Okay.
They're like a silent muse, though.
Yeah. Because they're very supportive.
I think they are, yeah.
Yeah. They're very. Yeah, they are supportive, and then it's funny, and they make sure I'm cool because I don't smoke pot, but they do. So last time, Carrie wanted to come by. He says, I probably shouldn't, because I'll end up smoking pot.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. So.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with smoking pot. It just doesn't bring me any joy.
Yeah.
But the one time I was driving without my glasses, I drove all the way up to Fresno. I said, "Well, you can just tell me where to get off the freeway. I can see the taillights, I can see the lane markers, but I can't read the signs. Just tell me where to get off and where to."
I'll just have a bagel.
But on the way back, I had to drop her off in Pasadena, and I came back to Michael's. And I couldn't set up my phone to record my set because some other.
How come they never cleaned that fish tank?
I don't know.
There was this fish tank at Michael's at the end of the bar, and it was like,
Really?
yeah. And every
It was
time
fucking filthy.
I had this video one time of this colleague of his, Roger Rod, who didn't he do HBO? What did he do? Something.
I don't know. He's been
big.
on. I don't know. He gets
He's
very.
done some good stuff.
That's true.
But the whole set was just him talking, and the video was the fish tank. Because it's like it didn't really matter. It was all just his great material.
Well, that's true. People always get irritated. Well, what happened to Ty Rivera too? He'd be playing a video game, and someone would be mad that they're not looking at him. I said, "What? You're not juggling chainsaws. You're not doing anything. You're sitting there and talking. If you're not doing you're not spitting fire or blood like Gene Simmons does. We can hear you.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Everything there at one point was quarters, like he old school quarters, like you'd put in if you wanted to play pool, quarters.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Jukebox, quarters, darts, quarters.
Yeah.
And then every time you would ask for quarters, they go, fine.
What the hell, man?
There's only one person in here.
But one time I was there, so after I dropped my friend off, and you met my friend Miss Daisy,
Yeah.
and so because I had a friend, because we used to drive to. I mean, I still work in Del Mar. We used to drive down together, and she was black, probably still is. And then I used to do most of the Kaboom, and I call it. And then, so I used to call her Miss Daisy. I still call her Miss Daisy. But anyway, so I needed to drive her up to Fresno for something, and then on the way, I dropped her off in Pasadena, and because I'd driven these streets enough, I could memorize. I knew where to go. Mm-hmm. And then I set up my camera, but I had to set up someplace else because there were some others. There were some dark fellows sitting at a place where but I couldn't make out anyone because I didn't have my glasses on. So I did my set. I tried some new clever stuff. That didn't work, so I just went straight into creep mode again. And I
Straight into creep mode.
well, yeah, I mean, but just what they. I went into creep. Well, because I know that'll work. That'll get me some laughs. And then I came, then I finished my set. I mean,
Gary's dying.
I'm sorry, because I say things, people tell me I have a body. They tell Lisa Richie, you got the body of a dancer. I said, God damn, everyone knows what's in my trunk. so what? But then, so I pick up my camera, and then my friend, Chris Ramirez, he brought up the next comic. He goes, the next comic, Marlon Wayans. And I had no clue because I couldn't make.
Wow.
That was the guy where I usually set up my camera, and then he starts to set it. Goes, hey, you know that Raz comic, C or what's his name? Ladies, if you need someone to walk you to your car, don't ask him. And so later on, I mean, just at least months later, I was at another show on Sunset, and Marlon Wayans was there, and he was just after his set, he was just on the. And I walked by, he goes, I remember you. You're the murderer. You're funny. So he remembered me. Maybe, yeah, maybe it was good that I didn't. Ladies, if you need someone to walk you to your car. Kaboom. That I didn't have my glass, that I couldn't make anything out.
Yeah. So as far as a memory of like your best show, best performance,
It was the day we met.
Yeah.
do you remember that?
They're the kind. Yeah, there was one at the. Actually, yeah, it's on YouTube.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's at the Ice House, and now it's more than 10 years. I mean, I think I've had some, because I had some good shows in Las Vegas, but people, and I have them recorded too, and they're longer sets. But some people say they can't really make out what I recorded. The recording is, but there's one at Yeah, it was at the Ice House. And it's funny because it's one of these. I had to. It was a bringer show, but I didn't bring any because I just gave people money. But so I brought one person. There are other people who knew, but most of the audience didn't know me. And actually, this is while we were filming the reality show. Oh, and there was another time when I had to drive without my glasses because I couldn't find them. And I remember because we were shooting all day, and there were some problems. I remember earlier in the day, you were asking me about having the set ready, and I was going to tell people at the production office. What were they? I think it was Tijuana Productions, was the name of it. And they did a show called A&E called Obsessed, and I couldn't remember and so I wrote out what my jokes were going to be. Then at the end of the day, I was having car trouble. I couldn't get anyone to tell me to Pasadena, and I remember the therapist from the show. She would, she made it like, what kind of commitment do you want to make to cleaning this up? And I thought to myself, yeah, what kind of commitment do I want to make to having a good show or to getting up there? And unfortunately, my friend Chris, who I was just telling you about, who had the show, he, I asked him, he said, well, look, here's a car you can drive. He had a Saturn or something, so he picked me up, brought me home, gave me the Saturn. I drove there. And I made it there just in time, and then I still had some time to go over my set. Then I went over, and then I crushed it, and it was a lot of creep stuff, and the videos on YouTube.
So what is the creep act? If you could talk about
Give
it.
it some creep jokes.
Yeah, I can tell. Well, because a lot of times, the thing is, because a lot. All right. Because a lot of times I tell people, I look like a lot of famous people like Drew Carey after chemo. And some people think I look like a serial killer. I said, really, I just play one on America's Most Wanted.
Drew Carey.
I hate that show.
Drew Carey after chemo.
Yeah. I said, I hate that show, especially when they get my name right. And I was supposed to be on Dateline, but they really hate it when you show up a day early. I said, kaboom. And Chris Hansen is like the worst host, the worst chaperone. You never get to anything. He's just a total cock block. The dates never happen.
A huge cock block.
I said, because I learned my lesson from the internet anyway. Because the girls never look like their pictures. You think you're gonna meet this really hot 14-year-old cheerleader, and you go to meet her. She always ends up looking like a 50-year-old FBI agent, and she always has 4 friends who look just like her with the same ugly blue windbreaker.
Right.
Yeah. And I said I didn't like those dating shows anyway. Because things like Eliminate, the girls kept coming back.
Right.
As they're not really eliminating anybody. When I did my version, the girls didn't come back into the sequel, which I called Carbon Date. Kaboom. And then I wanted to start meeting more women because my mom had passed away, and I got tired of her seeing me touch myself from heaven. And so then that's when I learned a lot of women, when they say they're so lonely, they wish they had a stalker. Turns out they're just kidding. I said, but I don't really need to stalk anybody anyway, because I just bought a $3,000 telescope. I said, honey, I've seen you shower. You're getting a shaver for Christmas. And the thing is too, a lot of these women you don't want to get with anyway,
cream cheese on that.
because some of the women are just all attitude, you know. Because you're always answering a question with a question, so you always say how you doing, then it's always how'd you get in my house, or why you're following me, or and these girls have got kaboom, and these girls have got nothing to say because you pull the socks out of their mouth. Oh, you, or they just want to talk about how many Girl Scout cookies they sold. I said, you know, this is kind of boring.
Oh.
And then I know it's bad. I said, honey, you're lucky I got to you before high blood sugar. Carbohydrates are disgusting. Nobody's chasing you down in that wheelchair. I mean, it's not to put down diabetic girls because I love them. Because whenever you remove their limbs, they just say thank you. Kaboom.
Oh man.
And so, I had a friend. He used to say he was black from the waist down. He wasn't bragging, just diabetic. I am. See, I think that joke is funny. I just don't know if it's gonna get a lot of circulation.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll work in Billings. Huh?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
they're a little bit sheepish. Well, that was bad.
You know, a quick side. When you're talking about Billings, I was remembering a Mudvayne story.
In Billings, Montana.
Yeah, when we were there, I was like, okay, there's nothing going on. I'm going to crash. And Chad comes in and starts jumping on the bed. He's like, we're going to strip club. You're going. I'm like, no, dude. He's like, let's go. We're all going. I'm like, okay. So we take this cab or whatever. It's like down this frontage road, and we go there, right? So we go Shotgun Willys. And the guy's like, $20 cover. There's nobody there. It's like $20 cover. I remember him saying $20 cover. So we all go in and we're having a blast, whatever. It's just funny, and we're all just laughing and drinking.
It's a good amount of girls.
It's probably like the size of this room, the whole strip club. Yeah, but there was like probably 15 girls working, so it was just everywhere. There's like
pretty good.
Yeah, there was like us.
Yeah. And
Yeah, there was like it was just like it was Mudvayne, me, Timmy, and brother Matt, and then like 4 other guys that are just like, yeah, I'm here every night. And they're just sitting there like, who are these guys? And that was like in the era when Mudvayne, Ryan had his devil horns and everything with his hair and shit and walking there. So there was this guy that had, you were talking about the sexual assault thing. It reminded me of this guy that had a van, one of those guys with a van with no windows.
Oh, God.
And at the end of the night, he's like, yeah, I'll give you guys a ride home. And we're like, no. And Matt, the drummer, he's like, yeah, it's cool, dude. And we're all like, I'm like, no, dude. And we go out there, and the guy's going like, first of all, Chad is jousting with the guy, like outside. He's got like the swords and everything in the van, like the shields and the swords and the whole 9 yards. Like, and Chad's like, it's cool, dude. He's up there in the, remember we used to wear the overalls, like when Mudvayne first came out, Chad used to say, and he's in the overalls going. So we're driving back going like 180 miles an hour, and I'm like, dude, and there's no seats. We're all in the back. There's no windows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, slow down. And everybody's laughing and shit, and I grab Matt. I'm like, dude, and Matt's like, hey, slow down, man. But that was when you said that Billings story. It just reminded me of that night. It took me right there, dude. Shotgun Willys. I hope you're still open.
We're still here. $20 cover.
Yeah, $20 cover, and I still work here.
I still work here. I still have the
I remember you.
I remember you,
From
Gary.
20 years ago. Get the fuck out of here.
We're waiting for you to come back. I
didn't like you then either.
I remember everything.
Yeah.
I've seen every person that ever came in this bar.
You're the only one that came in 20 years.
I think there are more people in the valley than there are in Montana.
Probably.
Yeah. But I don't know if you know Angie Crum. She's a comic, and because she lived in Montana too. She went back and forth between Arizona and Montana. She said she had an uncle. They called him Fredophile in Montana.
Fredophile. Well, I think we'll wrap it here, but Richie, pleasure.
Likewise.
We'll close it with the Fredophile.
Okay.
Talking about comedy and just kind of your story and really cool stuff, man. Why don't you give a shout out? You got social media or anything?
Yeah, where are you performing next and stuff?
Where am I performing next?
Yeah.
You mean like a real club?
No, like where someone could probably find you relatively easy if they want to become a fan.
All right. Well, next Wednesday, Robin Hood on near Woodman
The
and
British
Burbank.
pub.
The British pub. Then there's Universal Bar and Grill. I don't think
I
this
know
coming
where that
Monday.
is.
Yeah.
On Lagersham, right there.
But
Yeah.
usually every other Monday. Then yeah, right across from the Toyota dealer, the used lot.
Yeah.
And where else? Liquid Zoo, probably this Sunday.
Yeah, Liquid
Oh,
Zoo.
that's right on Sepulveda.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Liquid Zoo.
They're my favorite strip club.
There you go. See,
games.
kind of trying to stay on topic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no comment.
And-
Yeah.
Shout out
No,
to
and then at
Cookie
the
and
Sycamore
Soda.
Tavern. Sycamore Tavern next, I think. Oh,
Where's
June
that at?
15th.
Where's Sycamore Tavern at?
Excuse me. Sycamore in Hollywood or Sycamore in Sunset?
Oh.
But it's got a parking lot. It's awesome. Well, I mean, that's.
You can drive there.
Well, I mean, it's not like the Valley where everywhere there's a lot of free parking. In Hollywood, you got to
yeah,
look
yeah.
for it. I mean,
Hollywood's terrible, yeah.
yeah, so there you
What
can.
about Ireland? They don't do comedy there anymore?
No, they do. They'll do music, but yeah, I think it just slowly petered out.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks
And,
everyone for tuning in to another
thank you.
episode of the podcast. Appreciate having you on, Richie.
With
and
my
Mike,
favorite
thank-
host, Deadshot.
That's right.
Yep.
Deadshot, Gary from Flatline, as always, man.
Thank
Keeping
you.
the rock alive. Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you,
We
everybody.
Thank you.
appreciate it.
The
Where am
phone
I-
lines are lighting up. Oh, whoa.
Wait,
Yeah.
where's our?
coming
this-
in.
Aaron
there you go.
Gaming. Thanks for having us,
Of
Aaron.
course.
Yes, thank you for.
Yeah,
care,
yeah,
everybody.
thanks.
Yeah. Hey.
Thanks.
I'm Richard.
Thanks.
Are we doing this? Are we doing this?
Kaboom. We got to do
Kaboom.
one last
Yeah.
Kaboom.
Kaboom.
Yeah. All right.